이번 목적지는 세상에 변화를 가져올 여성들에게 훌륭한 리버럴 아츠 교육을 제공하고자 설립된 역사적인 여자대학인데요. 바로 웰슬리 칼리지입니다. 세븐 시스터 칼리지의 일원인 웰슬리는 US 뉴스의 월드 리포트에 따르면 미국 리버럴 아츠 칼리지 중에서 4위, 리버럴 아츠 여자 대학 중에서는 1위라고 해요. 22억 달러가 넘는 기부금을 보유한 웰슬리는 미국 여자 대학 중에서 가장 큰 기부금 규모를 자랑합니다. 웰슬리 졸업생들은 최초라는 수식어를 많이 가지고 있는데요. 1886년 한 웰슬리 동무는 수학 박사 학위를 취득한 최초의 여성이 됐고, 1946년 한 웰슬리 동무는 여성 최초로 임상의학 교수가 됐죠. 매들린 올브라이트는 1997년에 최초의 여성 미 국무장관이 되었으며, 2016년에는 힐러리 클린턴이 미국 주요 정당의 대통령 후보에 오른 최초의 여성이 됐습니다. 이렇게 뛰어난 여자 대학교에 대해 더 알아볼 준비 되셨나요? 함께 가시죠. 저는 미국 미시간 대학교에서 경제학을 공부하며 유학생활을 시작한 이현진입니다. 여러분과 함께 미국에서의 대학생활을 엿보며 학생과 교직원을 직접 만나 더 깊은 이야기를 들어보려고 합니다. 미국 명문 대학들을 탐방할 준비가 되셨나요? 그럼 출발합니다. 웰슬리 칼리지는 매사추세츠주 그레이터 보스턴 지역의 작은 마을인 웰슬리에 있습니다. 숨겨진 아이비 중 하나인 이 대학은 영어, 수학, 자연과학, 고전학에 중점을 둔 수준 높은 학문으로 유명하죠. 더 자세히 알아보기 위해 입학 및 학자금 지원처의 조이 세인트 존 처장님을 만나보았습니다. Hi Joy, nice to meet you.
Hi Emily, nice to meet you too.
Tell me about what makes Wellesley unique.
The fact that Wellesley is a women's college is an important thing that sets us apart. In Wellesley's mission to provide an excellent liberal arts education to women who will make a difference in the world, that doesn't seem like a particularly radical idea. But certainly when Wellesley was founded in the late 1800s, it was a very radical notion that you would think about providing a high quality, rigorous undergraduate education to women. And so obviously now access is no longer an issue, but there's still a lot of really kind of informal and perhaps unconscious barriers that exist for women in certain fields. And so we have not only a historic tradition, but even a modern tradition of doing a better job of moving women through fields that are primarily dominated by men. So for instance, we produce more women PhDs in science than almost any college or university in the country per capita.
Wow, that's impressive. I know Wellesley has a lot of notable alumni as well.
We have not only a modern reputation for educating women who are highly successful and in fields where women are not normally represented, but we have a historic reputation as well. So we have just this really rich history of women who were firsts, who were the first to do things. That's because we were investing in women and saw the potential in women at a time when other institutions were not serving women in the same way. When somebody learns that, one of our alums graduated from Wellesley College, there are a whole set of assumptions that they make, and very positive assumptions, right? They make the assumption often that the woman has a seriousness of purpose. They make the assumption that the woman is invested in social change. They make the assumption that she is highly skilled and highly trained, and that she has received not only the education, but has the mentorship as well to rise to leadership in whatever field that she pursues. That legacy of female leadership, it really means that Wellesley arguably has among the most powerful women's professional network in the world. When you, as a Wellesley grad, reach out to another Wellesley grad, you share the belief that women should aspire to being a leader, But that shared mission is a unique bond that you have with alumni at Wellesley that doesn't always exist at other institutions because they have a different history and a different mission.
웰슬리 컬리지는 아주 초기부터 최첨단 교육을 제공하려고 노력했습니다. 1878년에는 오로지 학부 교육만을 위한 물리학 실험실을 열었는데요. MIT에 이어 미국에서 두 번째였죠. 웰슬리의 학생들은 어떻게 공부하는지 알아보기 위해 물리학과 3학년 학생인 티아나 그린 씨를 만나보았습니다. Hi Tiana, nice to meet you.
Hi Emily, it's so nice to meet you too.
Tell me about why you decided to attend Wellesley.
So when I was going and looking for colleges, I wasn't looking for a women's college. I wasn't looking for a small liberal arts college, and I definitely was not looking for a small liberal arts college that happened to be a women's college. I was applying to big research universities, and they were all co-ed. Wellesley is the only historical women's college I applied to, the only small liberal arts college that I applied to. And what made me decide to go to Wellesley was, it was the weekend that my mom and I, we went to go visit the campus. And when I went to Wellesley, my mom and I got lost on campus. And a student stopped us and she said, "Are you guys lost?" And we were like, "Yeah." And so she took my mom and I into the student campus center, swiped us in to eat, sat and ate with us, told me about Wellesley. She gave my mom her father's number. Like, if you have anything about finances or anything like that, you can talk to him, you can talk to me. She gave me her phone number. And I remember thinking to myself, if a stranger could give me that type of care and kindness, what does the rest of the campus have to offer? And it was at that time that I kind of made up my mind, this is the campus that I want to be on. When I went to Wellesley, I really fell in love with the area and also the flexibility of the academic program. My professors all know me by name, so that's one thing. Our student to faculty ratio is smaller than at the larger universities, so I really felt like I wasn't just one lost among the numbers. I was a student with my own personality, my own ambitions, my own goals, and my professors really took the time to get to know me in each and every one of my classes.
What is it about going to a historically women's college that has made a difference for you?
In my own ignorance and just not knowing, I knew nothing about a women's college. And the more I talked to students, the more I learned that, all of these women's college taboos and stereotypes that I had in my head were absolutely false. I can only envision myself at Wellesley now, of course. And as a person of color who is a woman in STEM or any other traditionally male-dominated career path, Wellesley truly gave me the ability to find my voice, hone in on my voice. In high school, I remember sitting there thinking, I know the answer, but I'm not gonna say it. Why that was, you always probably have the boisterous boys in your class who will just shout out the answer confidently, but you're like, am I confident enough in myself that I know this answer? And now attending Wellesley, I'd say absolutely yes. So at Wellesley, if you don't already have your voice, you will surely find it.
Finding your voice is an important part of a college experience. I can't imagine that was easy though.
At Wellesley, a lot of people experience what we call imposter syndrome, where you feel that, maybe you don't belong here because you see so many accomplished people who have come before you and who sit by you in your class, and you wonder, do you really belong amongst this rank? And the more you learn about yourself and you go through Wellesley courses and classes, you know that Wellesley accepted you for a reason. You are absolutely where you need to be. And I think it's even more motivation for you to know the greatness that has come before you and that you can absolutely contribute to that once you leave Wellesley. Wellesley gives you the opportunities, experiences, mentorship for you to join the ranks of such, heavy hitters.
Joy, how does Wellesley create this empowering environment for new students?
In the first semester of a first-year student's tenure at Wellesley, they take a normal load of classes and they receive feedback and grades, but their transcript will not reflect specific letter grades. It will just reflect whether they've received credit or not received credit.
No way, that's fascinating.
And so one thing it allows students to do is to, sort of learn what effective learning looks like without being fearful that in some ways that they can't struggle and fail. We also require all students to take a semester of a writing intensive course, making sure that everyone's starting on the right foot and with the same understanding in writing is really important to fully realizing the potential of the Wellesley curriculum. The other thing that we have are first year seminars. One of the things that our faculty realized was that in some fields, it's really important to understand that foundational information, but the really fun and exciting stuff happens when you start looking at the more focused and detailed subjects. So the first year seminar is a solution to that problem. So what happens is that faculty members, they develop versions of those courses for first year students. And then generally we have distribution requirements that require students to take courses throughout the curriculum that ensure that all of our graduates have received that foundation regardless of what their specialization was in terms of a major.
다음으로는 정치학을 가르치는 스테이시 고더드 교수님을 만났는데요. 시카고 대학교에서 공부하던 당시에 시간표에 맞춰 우연히 선택하게 된 강의를 듣고 정치학에 푹 빠졌다고 합니다. 교수님 말로는 완전히 마음을 사로잡혔다고 하네요. Hi, Stacy. Tell me about the research you do at Wellesley.
My research is on how it is great powers interact with each other in the international system. So countries that have a lot of power, a lot of military power, a lot of economic power, oftentimes these great powers tend to be fairly competitive with each other. And the consequences of that competition can be pretty significant. They can lead to arms races. They can lead to economic competition, such as trade wars. I think in some ways these types of issues can seem really distant. But honestly, what great powers decide to do, how they decide to use their resources, affects all of our lives. These are pretty hefty topics. We don't need to think that we're going to solve them easily, but to kind of create an atmosphere that we all understand that we're part of the process of change.
Absolutely. Tell me about your students. How are they grappling with these topics?
There are students at Wellesley that I get to know in my first year seminar, or they'll take world politics in their first year, and they'll take every course with me, and by the time we're in senior year, they're doing a thesis with me. Over time, this relationship develops, and I think really by the end, we're just very aware of how we do research, how we learn, and these are relationships then that even extend outside of Wellesley. We put a lot of emphasis on making women visible in fields where they're not always visible. In my classes, every student feels empowered to speak and understands that they have a contribution to make. And if we can create these spaces where we hear those experiences and viewpoints being expressed, that's when we're going to be able to engage in that type of collective action that I think is so important in our field.
강의, 연구와 더불어 스테이시 교수님은 매들린 K 올브라이트 국제문제연구소의 소장 역할도 맡고 있습니다. 웰슬리 동문인 매들린 올브라이트가 설립한 이 연구소는 리버럴 아츠의 관점에서 국제 문제를 연구하도록 설계된 살아있는 실험실이죠.
The mission of the Madeleine K. Albright Institute is to educate fellows so they can take on positions of global leadership in the world. We have 40 fellows every year. They do a 3-week program in January, and then they go on during the summer to do internships, basically in whatever substantive field that they would like to do. But those 40 fellows draw from disciplines and departments from across the college. We try to teach them how to work together, even though they're very, very different thinkers with very different backgrounds, in order to be able to address global challenges. Leadership is really about mobilizing for collective action. So it's not about being a high-achieving individual. It's about understanding how do you work within groups, and how do you in particular work across difference in order to be able to affect significant change. Secretary Albright would tell you it wasn't just about her as Secretary of State, it was about the team that she assembled and she mobilized every day. So that's what we try to bring into the Albright Institute.
How would you describe the students at Wellesley?
One thing that's really unique about Wellesley students, it's in that mission. It's the idea that they are supposed to be making a difference in the world. They see themselves not just as individuals that are trying to do that, but as part of a Wellesley community that's committed to doing that.
웰슬리에서 인류학과 영화학 학위를 취득하고 졸업한 카빈디아 테나쿤. 줄여서 카비 테나쿤 씨는 학습, 설계 및 기술 분야의 석사 학위를 받기 위해 스탠퍼드 대학교에 진학했습니다. 웰슬리에 오기 전 카비 씨는 스리랑카의 시골에 사는 청소년을 위한 교육 기회 개선 프로젝트를 공동 설립했습니다. 카비 씨는 그 공로를 인정받아 하버드 대학교와 영국 여왕으로부터 상을 받았죠. 현재 카비 씨는 기술 산업 분야에서 커리큘럼 엔지니어로 일하고 있습니다. Hi, Kavi. How did your time at Wellesley shape you?
There's this saying at Wellesley where they say, Wellesley is the place you come to become the person you were meant to become. And I think for me, that exactly was the experience. What Wellesley does, it teaches you to think. It doesn't tell you what you should be thinking, but it teaches you how to think.
And how has the preparation benefited you in grad school and in the work you've done since graduating?
Actually coming to Stanford, I felt like I was way more prepared than I could ever be. And also to go into tech, which is an extremely male-dominated place, which is also kind of has diversity issues. I think I was prepped well to create a space that worked for people who look like myself or came from backgrounds like myself.
Yeah, tell me more about how you wound up in the tech industry.
I was an econ major before, and then somewhere down the line I realized that wasn't really for me, and then switched to anthropology as a major. My thesis was in education, how design anthropology can be used to reimagine education, and then kind of led me to grad school. I knew I wanted to go into edtech, but I was very fascinated by accessibility of edtech. The current company I work for, I work around creating boot camps around UX research and design, so creating more affordable learning around design-focused fields. Even though I work in tech, I didn't come from a computer science background. Like, I don't have a background in coding or software engineering or anything of that sort. And I think it was the liberal arts kind of background of having been empowered to kind of learn on the job, to be able to connect these dots. You are able to come into a system that's completely different, an industry that's different, a space that's different, and not know how things work, but be confident enough to talk to people and to always be curious. I think that's what Wellesley gave.
고향인 스리랑카에서 멀리 떠나온 카비 씨는 가족 중에서 최초로 대학을 졸업한 사람입니다. 대학원은 말할 것도 없죠. 카비 씨는 웰슬리에서의 마지막을 특별하게 보냈습니다. 2019년 학위 수여식 연설자로 선발된 건데요. 카비 씨는 연설을 통해 그동안 자신에게 영감을 준 모든 여성에게 경의를 표했습니다.
An incredible mentor who I had the chance to work for sat me down one day and told me, Kavi, a college degree would really change things for you. And I think Wellesley would be the perfect fit. To cut a long story short, a tribe of incredible Wellesley women banded together to make this moment possible. I called my mentor and I asked her, how could I ever repay you back? Antonia DeMille, class of 89, who's right there in the audience today. She said, one day you will meet someone just like you, with dreams larger than themselves, but without the means to make them a reality. Make Wellesley possible for them and pass this forward.
The student who attends Wellesley is going to go off and make a difference in the world. That's part of our mission, and that's part of what I think every student believes about themselves.
Just focus on doing the right thing, to be able to think on your feet and to formulate your own opinions of what is right and just. Having that moral compass can guide you till the rest of your life.
And so that space that we provide young women in particular, without having to negotiate their gender every day, is a really fertile ground for personal and academic and professional achievement. And it's what makes Wellesley such a special place.
I absolutely love the people, my classmates, my friends, the faculty. They all make my experience at Wellesley that much more valuable. I am super excited to be in this community for the rest of my life.